Today is Friday the 24th of February. On Battle Drill Devotionals this week, we examine a true mountaintop experience and consider what Jesus' divinity means for us today. We've been reading together Matthew chapter 17 and verses 1 to 9, and we turn to it once more for the last time this week. Today we're reading from the Message. Sunlight poured from his face. 6 days later, 3 of them saw that glory. Jesus took Peter and the brothers James and John and led them up a high mountain. His appearance changed from the inside out, right before their eyes. Sunlight poured from his face. His clothes were filled with light. Then they realized that Moses and Elijah were also there in deep conversation with him. Peter broke in. "Master, this is a great moment. What would you think if I built 3 memorials here on the mountain? One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." While he was going on like this, babbling, a light radiant cloud enveloped them, and sounding from deep in the cloud, a voice. "This is my son, marked by my love, focus of my delight. Listen to him." When the disciples heard it, they fell flat on their faces, scared to death. But Jesus came over and touched them. "Don't be afraid." When they opened their eyes and looked around, all they saw was Jesus. Only Jesus. Coming down the mountain, Jesus swore them to secrecy. "Don't breathe a word of what you've seen. After the Son of Man is raised from the dead, you are free to talk." Amen. Do you ever look at your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities and think, "I'm never going to amount to much for God. I'm destined to being a mediocre Christian at best"? I suspect poor Peter might have felt a little of that as he, James and John and Jesus began to make their way back down from that high mountain. 6 days before, he tried to protect his friend Jesus by challenging over his assistance that he would be going to Jerusalem, where he would suffer at the hand of the religious and political leaders in the city and would eventually be put to death before rising again. Jesus called him Satan in return. Then he'd got overexcited at seeing Jesus transformed on this high mountain and had suggested building 3 shelters as memorials of the event, and God had had to interrupt him to get him to shut up and listen to Jesus. A pretty bad week in anyone's book. As they made their way off the mountain, Jesus tells Peter, James and John not to tell anyone what they had just witnessed until after his resurrection. Why? Because he knew they did not yet fully understand. In fact, perhaps they could not fully understand until Jesus had died and been raised from the dead. We can't always understand our weaknesses and vulnerabilities. We'd certainly rather not have them. But we can learn to sit with them. We can lean into the truth that God has the strength to transform them, to equip us to take the next step in our journey of faith. We have so much more to learn, and there is so much more to come. As you reflect once more on these words today, then this question might help you go deeper. What weakness and vulnerability might you need to learn to sit with and allow God to slowly transform? And I hope to see you again soon for some more Battle Drill Devotionals. In the meantime, God bless you.